Welcome everybody, and thank you for coming out this afternoon. We begin today by acknowledging the Yulukut Whelan clan from the Bunurong people, traditional custodians of the land on which we are gathered today, and we pay our respects to their elders past and present and those emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people who are here today. Thank you. My name's Anthony Burrows and I'm from an organisation called Tasmen, and I've escaped from Tasmania to come to your warm weather. It's 12 degrees here at the moment. It is 8 in Hobart, so thank you for the warm welcome. My role in this organisation has been to be one of the custodians, I suppose, and one of the coordinators of this amazing exhibition. We were trying to work out who we might invite to open. And we went through a number of politicians and various other people. I believe your Minister for Health, Martin Foley, could have been a good option, but we just recalled last time we invited the Minister for Health from Tasmania, he became the Premier a little bit later, so I'm not sure whether that would be the right thing to do or not. But we've decided to go with the photographer as the person to actually talk and open the exhibition, and I think that's very fitting. It was quite surprising when I arrived here, seeing the building itself. The South Melbourne Camera Club have had this building since 1979. It's had a very interesting history in relation to men. It was originally a Masonic hall. Then I believe it was an organisation was run out of here called Tri Boys, or Boys Try, I think, and they helped young men in the late 1800s, early 1900s, who had lost their way. And so I think it's quite fitting that our exhibition here should be in such an amazing building and with such a wonderful group of people that have really helped us set this up extremely well. Now, you probably know that it's Men's Health Week. It actually starts tomorrow. I think our event is ahead of everybody else's, so we thought we'd get in nice and early. This year, for 2022, the theme is building healthy environments for men and for boys. And it's about focusing on creating physically, mentally and emotionally healthy environments, now both at the home, the workplace and in social settings. And so the theme of this is about building connections between men in the social setting, out in the wild, in the bush. And some of the photos actually contain fathers with their sons as well. So it seemed to fit perfectly with this year's theme. Our organisation, Tasmen, first started in 1999. It's self-funded volunteer organisation, a bit like the Camera Club here. It's not one that's involved in counselling or trying to fix people up. That's not what we're about. It's a peer-to-peer model where we meet each other as equals and we share from the heart. That's the big key thing, hence the name of the exhibition, Men with Heart. So we've built up this community of men, courageous, wise and skilled. And we support each other and new members that come along, or new men that come along. Just checking here, I don't want to steal Paul's thunder. No danger of that, that's true. Paul does know how to speak well, and more speaking. Yeah. The photos around here have come from our camp that we have in the centre of Tasmania. We meet yearly until COVID arrived, and we gather men from all around Australia. So we were actually extending through to, we've got a strong group here in Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia and Queensland. I think we may have had somebody from Northern Territory as well. So it's an organisation which really fosters that cross-Australia feeling. And these photos were taken by Paul over 21 years. And we decided that we needed to come of age and share what we did, because really no one knew about Tasmen apart from that small group. And so what we thought we'd do is have this exhibition, and we gained permission from the men to release these photos. Paul will talk about that journey soon. But we were able to bring them out into the open, and the interesting thing politically was that the exhibition came out at the same time as the Me Too exhibition. Oh, sorry, not exhibition, the Me Too movement. And so here we were presenting for everybody a view of a male that wasn't necessarily toxic or wasn't toxic. It was an alternative view of what men are, can be. And so it filled a void, I think, which was very important. And it still does do that as it will travel around Australia. I'm going to now pass to Peter Lustig. Peter is one of the leaders of the men's work in Victoria, and he's going to say a few words. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Anthony. Everyone hear me okay? Yeah, connection. That's a beautiful thing. I heard that we're 4 degrees warmer here. And the deal, as I understand it, is that everyone in this planet is connected within 6 degrees. So for us to only be 4 degrees apart just resonates completely with me. And the truth is, I hadn't seen this exhibition before, but I walked in a little while ago, and as I was walking around and watching and looking at the photos and watching the video, there was at least half a dozen men that I know. And that seems to be a truism in men's work in this country, and indeed overseas. One gets to know one man sitting in a circle, and then another, and then another, and it just becomes the beginning of a beautiful network. It's something that I think women tend to do very, very naturally, and men are now, it seems, beginning to learn that. And that's just beautifully heartful, and gives a space really for vulnerability to step in, which is really where things really start taking place and people start learning. I happen to have done a whole heap of work with Pathways Foundation many years ago. That's a national not-for-profit which runs contemporary rites of passage for young men and young women stepping into adulthood. And I then, as it were, graduated to adult male rite of passage programs with an organisation which is international called the Mankind Project. And the Mankind Project runs a program called the New Warrior Training, which goes from a Friday afternoon through to a Sunday afternoon, follows the usual Joseph Campbell curve that you might know about of all rites of passage across the planet and across time, where there's a separation, there's a descent, there's a facing of challenges, which of course are always internal, and somehow or other finding within myself or each man or each woman, as the case may be, finding internal resources that they didn't know that they actually had before then, or finding new limits of them, and then returning, integrating, and then coming back into community. And that seems to be a pattern that is found across all of men's circles that I've been in anyway. And in Victoria, there's many. There's the Mankind Project. I'm aware that there's the Isle of Man. There's something similar to Tasman called Menergy, and quite a number of other informal circles all over the place. So I certainly encourage those of you who haven't sat in circle before, if you're interested in growing, becoming the man or the person that you were born to be. If you're already that person, great, go for it. And if there's a difference between that person and who you're currently being, go and do some work. And one way to do work is in a men's circle, where you'll be able to be vulnerable, show yourself, ask for help, be supported by other men, be held accountable, and hopefully be in integrity. So I think I would probably not be in integrity if I rabbited on much longer. So without further ado, Paul, thank you so much for the catalyst that this is. Beautiful, beautiful work, and over to you. Thank you, brother.
Thanks very much, Peter. We'll pass over to Paul. Just a couple of things that I do want to share, and something that he's very proud of, and I think we should be proud of too. He is the Grand Master of Photography in New Zealand and a Master of Photography in Australia. So it's very fitting that our first exhibition should be in this South Melbourne Camera Club. So I'll hand over to Paul, and he's going to share some of his insights. Thank you, Paul.
Afternoon, beautiful humans. Thank you for being here. Thanks to the Melbourne Camera Club in particular. That I think we had the President, Secretary, Vice President here the entire day sort of helping set everything up. And again, acknowledging the people of this country and this land before us and the men that have spent lives and changed lives in and around the space that we're in right now. So 23 years ago, like many young men, it's a time in life where, what the hell does it mean to be a man, a healthy man? So here I am, I'm in this new land, this Tasmania place, didn't know anyone. My father died when I was 17, no brothers. My grandfather's died before I was born, no cousins. There's no men in my life. I had 3 sisters and I was struggling and very aware that I didn't know where to find a healthy influence to be guided about the values and behaviours. How do I deal with anger safely? You know, how do I know how to navigate my inner world? How do I not become one of the crazy statistics of 9 men a day that are taking their lives in this country? That's 3 or 4 times more than women. And there's a very hidden and often unknown statistic and a scary one, and one that needs to be addressed. And I was kind of seeking, I really was. And through the universe's design or whatever it was, I found this organisation, Tasman. And I found men like Chuck and Anthony and Adam and Paul that are here today. And slowly over 21 years, these men, they became my brothers and my uncles and my grandfathers. And as I've become older and even reached a point where I've actually led these gatherings, kind of like my sons. And it's changed my life. And I have platforms and ways and mentors to get a sense of, yeah, right, this is a good way to do it. Or if I'm really stuck, somebody's got my back. Or if I don't know how to navigate something, who can listen to me genuinely and authentically and really? Where can I let my guard down and take off the mask of being a tough guy to shifting that paradigm that we have present in a lot of masculine culture where vulnerability is weakness. And yet it's the very thing at the core of what's killing men, and they're taking their lives because they haven't had the courage or modeling or understanding to know how to shift that paradigm to vulnerability is strength. Because that's how you can be supported, how you can model the fact that it's not okay to be okay, how you can create connection and healing and understanding to move and evolve beyond the stuck place that you were in, that you felt was hopeless. And my father told me very long ago, one of the great gifts he gave me, the great gifts any parent can give a child is a wonderful moral compass and a beautiful value system. And what he taught me in particular is you have a gift, no matter what it is, there's an invitation, if not a responsibility, to use it to make the world a better place. And here I was with this community and these men that would give me all the support and nurture and guidance and friendship and camaraderie. I was like, well, what the hell can I give back? Well, I can take photographs. So why not offer that into this space and start creating a wonderful representation of memories and connected moments and deep relationships and moments of emotional breakthrough or moments of peace that are rare and hard to find and worth celebrating and remembering and anchoring into and sharing with close family and friends. And that is where this body of work began. But interestingly and very importantly, it was done in utter and complete confidentiality, never to be seen by the wider community. Because you imagine you're a man who's very tepidly coming into the space of being around men, you don't know what it's all about, and you're slowly feeling more comfortable and your walls are coming down and things are coming up you've never really shared before comfortably, and someone's running around sticking a camera in your face and you don't know where the photos are going to be on Facebook tomorrow, like bang, that man is shut down in that moment. And so even though after about a decade I realized this is really powerful work, and I addressed that with the board, so this is bigger than us. This is a body of work that's probably quite rare and doesn't really exist in a lot of places in the world. Are we serving the greater purpose by keeping that container? And they said, we hear you and we agree, but you imagine if you were that man. It is more important for that man in that moment to not have that taken away from him. And I had to let go and accept that because I actually believed that. But I didn't quite give up. I knocked on the door for about 5 years and said, how about it, fellas? Let's go. And in the end, I just gave up. And then over time, the leadership changed in the organisation, the president changed, the board changed, and they'd been listening, and they'd been watching, and they'd been reflecting, and they'd been thinking, and they'd been beginning to own and prepare the community for opening it up. And then they came and tapped me on the shoulder a couple of years later and said, actually, we're thinking about doing something. We're going to go for a grant. Do you want to come along for the ride? And I'm like, oh, yeah, why not? And very, very courageously, this beautifully intimate window into an incredibly powerful, elegant, scary, wild, vulnerable, and deeply, deeply intimate world has been brought out to the wider community. And I really want to acknowledge the courage of both Tasman and all the men in these images that have offered themselves for this conversation, and to put their lives and their hearts and their pain and their grief and their sorrow and their joy and their friendship and their personal deep exploration out for all of us to engage with. And the power of modelling, there's a lot of what we do in Tasman, is present in these images. And that there's an inherent unconscious permission given to all those that connect with this around intimacy, around openness, around open-heartedness, because it's being modelled genuinely through here. And I think that's the power of this body of work. It has the capacity to touch people because it's really, really coming from a deep, authentic, powerful place. And that's where good men's work aims to tread. That's the land they want to walk upon. That's where they water the grounds. Let's let the guards down. Let's be real. Let's drop down. Let's support each other to be honest about where we're at and what's going on, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise. So how do we create a body of work that could meet everyone as much as possible? And so we moved from the images. We had 25,000 images taken over 20 years. And we spent, half a year, Anthony, curating it. We had focus groups. We had young people, women, boys, all sorts, sort of filtering down to create a simple story of the holistic aspect of what we're doing. And it's been designed in a way that it's quite accessible to hopefully everyone, from age to gender. It's not necessarily Tasmanian specific. And then we thought, well, vision is one thing, but what about words? What about if the men actually wrote to each image about what it meant for them, how they felt, what was happening for them in that image, and we brought that into the exhibition. So we did, thanks to all those beautiful men. What about people that love story and narrative? So we brought Troy Melbourne in, a beautiful ABC filmmaker, and we'll put it on shortly. There's 13 in-depth interviews of these men in the images who've been part of it for years, who are really sharing their heart and their experiences with men's work and how it's altered and changed and supported them as a man. And then another aspect we considered, well, what about the wider community? Why not include them in the conversation? So you look at these beautiful little cars, some of them are from a little 5-year-old girl or a 92-year-old grandfather, and it's like, well, what do you feel about these images? How are you drawn to them? How does it touch you? What if you shared that moment? And then you placed it with that image so other people go, I didn't see that. Oh, you know what? That actually does make me feel that way. And so it becomes a community interactive conversation. And right now I'm actually collating all of that material into a book. So it's a community conversation. Another level again, well, what's this men's work business anyway? What does it feel like? What actually happens? Well, at 5 o'clock tonight for a couple of hours, and at every single exhibition we've done, we've actually hosted and facilitated talking circles, or what we call heart circles, where you have a safe, confidential, held space by skilled facilitators to get a sense, well, what does it actually feel like at a gathering? What does it feel like to just be genuinely listened to, free of judgment, in a contained, safe, beautiful space where you can let your guard down and just be really where you're at and who you are in a deep, honest way, which is the great power of what we create at these gatherings in particular. So this is we've had 4 exhibitions up for 11 months. We've had almost 10,000 people through, but this is our first foray into the mainland. And the idea for the intention of the future of this project is, well, we have a unique body of work that doesn't exist many places in the world. How can we use it to support men's health and well-being beyond our community? And so here we are, our first tentative step into a different realm that's not our neck of the woods. And so we get people like Peter and Adam and Chuck and Paul who are living here, and they're working with men and actively part of the community in Victoria. So how can we can invite men's groups to come and meet in here in this exhibition? Women's groups, we want to build associations with other organisations doing beautiful work around health and well-being with men. You know, these images and the 20,000 images beyond are potentially accessible to offer a beautiful, healthy picture of positive masculinity that could be used in domestic violence or beyond blue or mental health. And we're really open to those kind of conversations. So the invitation to yourselves is to maybe reflect on where you could see a single individuals down to your next door neighbour's son, or to an organisation that could really benefit from exposure or access or support or interest or generating conversation around this kind of work. And soon the book will be produced, will be another avenue. The actual 13 video interviews are actually accessible on a YouTube channel live. So eventually we're kind of modernising and making the accessibility and the contemporary aspect of the exhibition available to the wider community as well. So that's probably about enough from me. Thanks for having me. Please take your time to really sink into the work, which is always a mixed bag at an opening. And it's in some ways it's more about the people in the room at an opening, but feel free to come back. It's open for 3 weeks. We've got 3 more weekends. We actually need a couple of people to come in for a few hours and support the exhibition opening, because Anthony and I unfortunately can't stay for an entire month just to manage the exhibition. So if you're up for that, and some of them in the room have already put their hands up for that, that'd be wonderful. Got an eye on you, Adam. There you go, brother. So thank you again, most particularly to Mark and Paul and Sally and all the crew that have supported us to be here above and beyond the call of duty. Thank you very much. Oops. No, hang on, you should.
Thanks, Paul. Just in conclusion, just want to reiterate that the important part of this exhibition is the interaction that we get with people. And if you could leave a message on our visitors book or write a comment on a particular photo that really does move you, it really does build the exhibition. And so these comments come from the 4 previous exhibitions. They're not all of the comments, obviously, but we would like to add a Victorian perspective to our collection. We're hoping to have another exhibition somewhere in Victoria in the near future, and then we're planning to move to South Australia because there's been some interest there. Could I, again, as Paul said, thank the South Melbourne Camera Club for being so supportive of us and helping us set up and providing this amazing venue. I think they deserve a round of applause. Thank you so much. And also thank YouTube, because this is being recorded on YouTube and will be going out to the wider world. So what we'll do is we'll say thank you, YouTube, and we'll say goodbye to you. I believe we've said goodbye to YouTube, have we? Yes, we have.